Hey everyone, Miss Voke here with your new unit. So we are going to be talking about adding decimals here. And I know you guys have already done a little bit with this in 5th grade, but we're going to just do some quick refreshers here. Okay, so these notes are going to be used for this week and next week, but this week again we are just focusing on adding our decimals. Okay, so I'm going to suggest that you actually take the time to read this entire paragraph here. Okay, this entire paragraph right here. But the major part of this paragraph, whenever you're adding up decimals, you always line the decimal points up exactly on top of each other. That part is key. If you forget to do that, you're not going to get the correct answer. So you must line those decimal points up. Okay? So again, make sure you go ahead and read that whole paragraph out. It should be review. So looking at this first example here, I went ahead and wrote our 3 steps out, but they wanted to find the sum, and remember sum, that just means we're adding. So they wanted to find the sum of 6.45 and 23.34. So what they did right away was line everything up vertically. Remember, vertically is always your up and down, okay? And again, they made sure they lined up those decimal points right away. And if you notice, here all of our tens are lined up. Here, all of our hundredths place is lined up. Then we would technically have all of our thousandths, our 10,000ths, and so on, okay? But what I like to do, you don't necessarily have to do this, but what I always like to do is once I line up those decimals, I automatically put a decimal point in line with these right in my answer before I start to solve, because it's so easy to accidentally just forget to put that decimal point in. So I like to do that right away just to be sure that I do have it, okay? So again, once they have those all lined up, all you have to do is add completely normal, and you should have gotten 29.79 here, okay? Now, up here to the top right, we have one more example I want to walk us through just in case. But remember, anytime you're adding a whole number and a decimal, it says include the invisible decimal point to the right of the whole number. So basically all that's saying is we're going to add our imaginary or our zero placeholders, okay? So here we have find the sum of 5 and 3.5. Notice right away, here we have 2 numbers after our decimal point. With this 5, we have 0 numbers after our decimal point. So whenever you're adding and subtracting, you always want the same amount of numbers. So how could we change 5 into a decimal? We can change it into 5.00. Remember, you can always add zeros after a decimal. Okay, always add zeros after, spelling all sorts of things wrong. Here we go. After a decimal. And remember, that doesn't change the value of the number at all. So I could do 1.1 and add a million zeros if I really wanted to. That still has the same exact value as just 1.1, okay? So what they did for finding the sum of 5 and 3.55, they again wanted to make sure that they had 2 numbers after the decimal point for both values. So they added that 00 onto the 5, and then they added regularly, okay? So it's the same kind of idea. I'm going to do just one more example here. If we had, let's say, 1.1 and let's say 2.222. If I wanted to add those both up together, again, I'm going to line them up vertically, make sure my decimal points are in line. So just looking at this right now, we can see that there's clearly not the same amount of numbers after the decimal point. So I'm going to add in my 0 placeholders. Remember that 1.1 is the same exact thing as 1.100. And now that I have the same amount, I have 3 numbers on I have 3 numbers on the right side of my decimal points. I can just add them up normally. And we would get, let's see, we get 2, 2, 3, 3. So we get 3.322. So again, you always want to make sure you have the same amount of numbers to the right side of your decimal point, okay? All right, down here to the bottom, this is all about subtraction. So again, we're going to talk about that next week. So go ahead and skip over that. And I did label out, you only need to do numbers 1 through 5 today. Next week is when you'll do the rest of them, all right? So we will do, let's do just 1 here together, just as a quick refresher. Now, remember, anytime they're listed out horizontally, like we have here, you always want to line them up vertically before you start adding. That way it's way easier to not make a mistake, okay? So we have 5.89, we have our 9.23. Now that I have my decimal points lined up, again, like I said, I always go ahead and make my decimal point in my answer right away so I don't forget to write that down or I don't put it in the wrong spot. And now I'm ready to add everything up normally. So we have 9 and 3, we get 12. Make sure you carry your 1 over. And I do expect to see all of this worked out, okay? And we have 8 plus 1 plus 2, which is 11. Again, carry another 1. And we do get 15.12 here, okay? Now, one more important thing, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but it is in your instructions. There is no calculators allowed on this whole section, okay? No calculator whatsoever. You need to know how to do this without one, all right? So I'm going to suggest that you pause the video here, and then I'm going to go ahead and give you the rest of the answers, but not have any of the work shown, okay? So I do expect to see you actually complete the work. Okay, everyone, hopefully you took the time to pause the video. Here are the rest of your answers, and just so you know, the stuff I highlighted here in orange, those were just the questions that you needed your 0 placeholders for, okay? As always, let me know if you have any questions, and I will be back with another video later.